Eagle River real estate market continues to be an area that I watch very closely, not just because I live here personally, but also because it's really kind of a good indication overall for how real estate is doing across the board here in Alaska, just because it's close to Anchorage and it also has kind of a small town vibe to it, which, kind of is that happy bridge that I'm seeing between the kind of the different areas that we're talking about here. Is the Eagle River market on the verge of going into a collapse or having some big catastrophic event happen that's going to really make the entire market go backwards? My name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams here in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help you to build an intentional and significant legacy for yourself and your family by coaching on real estate. And today, what we're going to be doing is giving you the market update for what's going on here in Eagle River, looking at the residential, the condo, and the multifamily market. This continues to be a very interesting market to be keeping tabs on, just because it has the appeal of being close to Anchorage, and it also has kind of a small town vibe to it as well. So we'll be jumping into all that in just a minute. Before we get started, give this video a like, and let's go ahead and get this going. Looking first at the residential market. Now, the first thing that I want to check out is what's going on as far as the inventory for the residential market here in Eagle River. Well, we've seen a bit of a dip, not too much. I obviously don't want this to be going in this direction, but we've seen that the number of inventory actually went from 76 this time last year to about 67 this time this year. So, that's a bit of a shift for the number of properties that are actually available out there. This isn't counting the properties that are technically on the market but pending. So these are just the ones that are available. So, we're seeing a dip, not a huge difference here. Seasonally, we're going to start seeing that going up, but probably not too much going into the future. The next thing we see is that the number of properties that actually closed in Eagle River went from about 52 this time this year to about 47 this year. So not a huge shift in either direction, but still we're just seeing less properties that are selling. That probably has more to do with the fact that the pool of options are just shrinking. Now, the thing that I know everybody actually checks into this channel for is what's going on as far as the average sold price. So this went from about $424,000 this time last year to about 400 mid 60,000 this year. So this is approximately a 10% increase for the average sold price. That's pretty healthy. That's pretty aggressive. So if you're a homeowner, that's awesome. Low interest rates has really done a lot to kind of increase the average sold price here in the area, just because it does increase the demand. Realistically, you know what? I'm going to save that for the summer and talk about what I expect moving forward. Let's go and switch gears real quick and take a look what's going on in the condo market. So in the condo market, it's a growing sector of the market here. It's really not a huge sector of it just yet. I suspect this is probably going to be something that's going to increase as we go forward, just because we need more variety in the housing here in Eagle River. But this time last year, we saw 14 condos available on the market. Now it's 7. The next thing that we're seeing is that the number of condos that actually sold went from 10 this time last year, going all the way through the year of May. And now for this past month in May, we see that there are 14 condos that sold. So still having pretty good demand over there. And, that's great. We definitely need more variety in the housing here. Now, you would expect to see that the average sold price for condos actually go up a little bit, and that's actually not what's happening here in Eagle River. It's actually gone back just a little bit year to date. I think it's about a $500 difference. And I think the reason, so it was about 66,000. I think it went down like $265 and $800 or something like that. So not a huge difference either way. But I think more what that's an indication of is that we have a lot of people who have been in condos for a while that they couldn't sell just because there wasn't as much demand, and they're kind of smaller units. And now they're just taking advantage of the market being as hot as it is and getting it out there and getting it sold. So that's kind of the gift to them. Not that they're going to see like this huge increase in the average sold price, but just that they can sell it and be done with it. And there's a demand that's going to be taking it off their hands. So I suspect that's really what it is, why we're seeing the average sold price for condos going down a little bit here in Eagle River. Let's take a break here real quick. For those of you who've been watching for a while, you know I have a podcast called the Alaskan Journey Podcast. If you haven't watched this already or listened to it, you're really missing out, because this is the experiences and interviewing people who have actually lived here in Alaska for a while or just recently moved up here, and talking about their experiences and the tips and tricks they had of moving up here. So if that's something you're interested in, do make sure you go check that out in the description section down below. And for those of you who are considering possibly getting your property on the market in the near future, do feel free to reach out to me on my website. I do have a seller guide I'd be more than happy to pass off to you as you're starting to work your way through this process. Now, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on in the multifamily market here in Eagle River. Now, the thing about multifamily properties here in Eagle River is they're going to be in pretty high demand. And the reason for that is that we have not a very high cap rate, which if you are an investor, you know a low cap rate means that you're not going to be making as much money. So the ROI is not going to be as high, but it's going to be more falling into that mailbox money category, where it's not going to be quite as much headache and you're not going to have quite as many issues dealing with it. So for that reason, Eagle River is pretty popular. And this time last year, we had 6 that were available on the market. That wasn't a lot. This year, there are 2. And yeah, I've definitely run the numbers on both of those. And there's a reason I haven't made an offer on them. But we've got 2 right now, and let's take a look and see what's going on in the number of properties that have actually sold. This graph is always pretty spotty, in my opinion, just because there's not a whole lot it's a small market. There's not a whole lot that's going to get bought or sold. This time last year, we had 2 multifamily properties that closed. This year, there's been 1, so not a whole lot going on there. So the next thing we're seeing is the average sold price has gone up. It's really hard to say definitively how much the average sold price has actually gone up here in Eagle River, just because multifamily doesn't incorporate a lot of different property classes, like everything from the little duplex all the way up to big multi-million-dollar 30plex or something like that. So what we're seeing as far as the average sold price, it's gone up. I don't think it's gone up quite as much as what the graph down here would indicate, because according to this, the average sold price for a property was right about $400,000 this time last year. Now we're looking at about 680 or so. It really just depends on which specific property you're looking at. I do expect there's an appreciation, but I expect that we have more unrealistic sellers here that don't really understand what value a multifamily property actually brings, and the rents really aren't as high as they could be. And yeah, the rest of the numbers just don't make sense, and so their property's just not worth what they think it is. That's really been more my experience. So, we'll see if we get some more options coming up here in the near future, but not expecting a big difference there. Now, looking at everything else here, let's go ahead and give you the quick summary. On the residential side, inventory is still low, and it's still lower than what it was the year before. I would like to see this go in the opposite direction, because we need to start getting more into a balanced market. I am not a doomsday person. I do not believe, from what I can see right now, obviously my opinion can change if we have more data that comes forward. But what I'm seeing right now is I'm not expecting a big shift in this specific market. We're always going to have demand coming in with the military, and people are wanting to work in Anchorage but don't want to live in Anchorage proper. And so Eagle River is always going to remain a pretty strong market as far as that goes. Now, interest rates going up are going to have an impact on the demand for real estate, and that's true for true everywhere is really what we're seeing, but it's not going to be the end all be all. Okay, going up a couple points here and there, yeah, it's going to have kind of a dampening effect. It's going to make certain price ranges a little more difficult to sell in or to buy in, but it's not going to just stop everything in its tracks or make the market completely flip over on its head and suddenly we're in a buyer's market. That is just not what I'm seeing. We have an issue of supply and demand right now. The demand might go down a little bit for a little while, because when interest rates go down, people stop looking, because they just get the deer in the headlights look. Buyers stop looking for about a week or two, and then they get adjusted to it and they're right back at it. As a seller, I'd say it's probably going to keep going up, but the rate at which it's increasing is probably going to be going That's probably what's going to decelerate is all. Condo market, like I kind of talked about that before. I expect we have a lot of folks that are just trying to sell their properties now while they can, while it gets good. So I sure hope this has been useful for you. If it has, do make sure you give this video a like. If you have any questions for me, do feel free to reach out to me, preferably on my website. That's the best way to get a hold of me these days. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have there. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.